Late at night, the 20th floor of a downtown high-rise stands empty. Fluorescent lights hum. Glass walls glow over a sleeping American city. A janitor pushes his mop across the marble floor. Mason Red, 42 years old, single father, night shift janitor at Carter Holdings Tower. He's just about to finish when he hears it. Piano, awkward, clumsy notes drifting from the music room at the end of the corridor. Not a recording, someone actually playing. Mason pauses, listens, then slowly follows the sound. Inside the music room, a little girl sits at the grand piano. Her eyes are unfocused, fixed on nothing. Her small fingers search for the keys, feeling for the notes instead of seeing them. She's blind. There's a second piano in the room. Mason hesitates, then walks over and quietly sits down. "I mind if I join you?" he asks gently. The girl smiles and tilts her head, listening to his voice and the soft scrape of his chair. Two pairs of hands now rest on two pianos. One pair rough and worn, one pair small and delicate. They begin to play together. Feet. Just outside the half-open door, a woman in a white suit stands frozen in the hallway. Tears slip down her face as she listens, unseen. We'll come back to her. His name is Mason Red. 10 years ago, he didn't mop floors. He played piano in a military orchestra. Back then, he wore a uniform, not a name badge. His wife sat in the front row at every performance. Her smile was the only applause he ever needed. Then, the accident. A drunk driver. One night, one crash. She didn't survive. Mason stopped playing that day. The piano wasn't music anymore. It was a wound. He took the first job he could find. A job where nobody asked questions, where he could disappear into the rhythm of mopping floors and emptying trash cans. He raised his daughter alone. Every dollar went to her future. Every sacrifice felt worth it. And yet tonight, something pulls him back to the one thing he buried: music. The girl at the piano can't be more than 9. Her unfocused eyes don't move, but her fingers do. Searching, determined, fighting for the melody. She plays a clair de lune, by ear. No sheet music. No teacher. No teacher. Just instinct. Mason recognizes it instantly. But the notes are broken, disconnected, like a puzzle with missing pieces. He watches for a moment, then speaks softly. "You're close," he says. "Really close. But music isn't just about hitting the right keys. It's about feeling the space between them." The girl turns her head toward his voice. "Who are you?" she asks. "Just someone who used to play." Mason answers. "What's your name?" "Grace," she says. "A beautiful name, Grace. Do you come here a lot?" She nods. "My mom works upstairs. She's always busy, so I wait, and I play." Mason notices the silver bracelet on her wrist. There's something engraved on it. He leans closer. "Here with your heart." He reads quietly. "That's special." Grace touches it with her fingers. "My dad gave it to me before he left," she whispers. Mason doesn't ask anything else. He knows what it's like when the people you love just disappear. "Want me to show you something?" he asks. Grace smiles. "Yes, please." Mason lays his hands on the keys. He plays a clair de lune again, this time complete. The melody flows like water, smooth and alive. Grace listens, her face lit up with wonder. "It sounds like the ocean," she whispers. "Exactly," Mason says. "A music isn't just sound. It's emotion, it's color, it's everything you feel but can't see." "Okay, can you teach me?" Grace asks. Mason looks down at his worn hands, at his janitor uniform. He doesn't belong here. Not really. But then he hears the hope in her voice. "Yes," he says. "I can teach you." From that night on, the 20th floor becomes their secret world. Mason finishes his cleaning around 11 p.m. Most employees are gone. The building is quiet, safe, almost sacred. He takes the elevator up, walks down the long hallway, opens the music room door. Grace is always there, always waiting, always smiling. "Uncle Mason, Uncle Mason," she calls out, recognizing his footsteps before he even speaks. He sits beside her. They start with scales, then arpeggios, then simple pieces by Chopin. Grace stumbles on a tricky passage and frowns. "I can't get it right," she says. "It don't chase perfect," Mason tells her. "For I chase the feeling." "What does this music make you feel?" Grace thinks. "Sad, but hopeful. I then play it like that." He says, "I'll let your heart lead. Your fingers will follow." She tries again. This time, the notes are softer, truer. Mason smiles. A better, much better, much better, much better. Between pieces they talk. "Uncle Mason, what does a sunset sound like?" she asks. He laughs gently. "A sunset? It sounds like peace, like everything slowing down. If you listen close enough, you can almost hear the sky changing colors. I wish I could see colors." Grace whispers. You do, Mason replies. Or you just see them differently. You hear them. You feel them. That's a gift, Grace. Not a limitation. She suddenly leans over and hugs him. Mason stiffens for a moment. He hasn't been hugged in years. Thank you for being my friend, she says. Something cracks open in his chest. Something warm he thought was gone forever. Always, he answers. But secrets don't stay secret forever. One night, the building security guard does his rounds a little earlier than usual. He hears the piano. He opens the door and freezes. A janitor, alone. With a child, at night. What's going on in here? The guard snaps. Mason stands quickly. I was helping her practice. Helping her. You're a janitor. You're not supposed to be here. The guard barks. Please, Grace says quickly. He's my teacher. He didn't do anything wrong. I'm reporting this. The guard replies, already reaching for his radio. The next morning, Mason is called into the manager's office. The man behind the desk is tall, sharp and cold. Mark Ellison, head of operations. He doesn't like rule breakers. And he definitely doesn't like janitors who forget their place. You were caught in the music room last night, Mark says, with a child. After hours. I was teaching her piano, Mason explains. She asked me to. I didn't mean any harm. You're paid to clean, Mark cuts in. Not to play piano, not to interact with tenants, especially not children. But she was alone, Mason says quietly. She needed... That is not your concern, Mark snaps. He leans forward. This is your final warning. If I catch you in that room again, you're fired. Do you understand? Mason clenches his fist. He wants to argue, but he has rent, bills, a daughter of his own to support. Yes, sir, he says. Mark isn't finished. People like you need to know their place, he adds. You're a janitor. Nothing more. Friesen doesn't respond. He just walks out. That night, Mason doesn't go to the music room. He finishes his shift and goes straight home. But the next night, he hears the piano again. He stops outside the music room door. He should walk away. He should protect his job. Then he hears it. Uncle Mason, are you there? Grace's voice cracks on the last word. His heart breaks. He opens the door. Grace sits at the piano, tears sliding down her cheeks. I thought you left me, she whispers. I like my dad. Mason drops to one knee beside her. I will never leave you, Grace, he says. Never. But the man said you can't come back, she sniffles. Let me worry about him, Mason says softly. Right now, let's play. They sit together at the piano. Unbeknownst to them, just outside the door, Mark stands with two other employees. He wanted witnesses. I got you, Mark says as he pushes the door open. Mason stands. He knows what's coming. Mason stands. He knows what's coming. I told you to stay away, Mark says. We're done here. Pack your things and leave. The other employees whisper. Some look uncomfortable. Others smirk. The janitor thought he was special. But Grace isn't done. She grabs Mason's hand and holds it tight. Please don't take him away, she cries. He's the only one who sees me. Mark hesitates. But only for a second. This isn't negotiable, he says. A security will escort you out. Mason looks at Grace one last time. He kneels. Remember what I taught you, he whispers. Here with your heart. He presses a small folded piece of paper into her hand. My phone number, he says quietly. If you ever need me, call. Then he stands, turns, and walks away. Grace sits alone at the piano. Her hands rest on the keys. For the first time in weeks, she doesn't play. 3 days pass. Mason doesn't come back to Carter Holdings Tower. He takes a new job stocking shelves in a grocery store at night. The pay is worse. The hours are longer. But at least nobody looks at him like he doesn't belong. He thinks about Grace every day. He wonders if she's still playing. If she remembers what he taught her. He hopes she does. Meanwhile, on the 20th floor, someone else is starting to wake up. In a corner office with floor-to-ceiling windows sits Olivia Carter, 33, sharp, relentless, CEO of Carter Holdings. She built the company from nothing. She sacrificed everything for success, including time with her daughter. Most evenings, Grace is alone in the building while Olivia finishes calls, deals, and deadlines. Olivia tells herself it's temporary, just until this quarter ends, just until this deal closes, but the quarters never end. The deals never stop. Tonight, Olivia ends a late conference call around 9 p.m. She rubs her temples and glances at the clock. Grace is probably downstairs in the music room, like always. On a rare impulse, Olivia decides to go check on her. She steps into the elevator, walks down the quiet hallway, and hears it, piano, not just random notes, Real music. Strong, confident, emotional. Olivia opens the door a crack. Grace sits alone at the piano playing A River Flows in You. Her fingers move with grace and certainty. Olivia has never heard her daughter play like this. She steps back into the hallway. She doesn't want to interrupt. She just listens. The music stops. Mom, Grace calls out. Is that you? Olivia freezes. How did you know I was here? She asks, stepping in. I heard your heels, Grace says with a little smile. You always wear the tall ones. You all wear the tall ones. Olivia can't help but smile back. She forgets sometimes how sharp her daughter's other senses are. You played beautifully, Olivia says. When did you get so good? Grace's face lights up. Uncle Mason taught me, she says. He said music isn't about seeing the notes, it's about feeling them. Olivia's brow furrows. Uncle Mason, the janitor, Grace says. He used to play with me every night, until they made him leave. Olivia's chest tightens. What do you mean they made him leave? Mr. Ellison said he wasn't allowed to be here, Grace says. That he was just a janitor. So they fired him. Olivia's expression hardens. Mark did what? Before Grace can answer, Olivia's phone rings. An important investor. She has to answer. Stay here, sweetheart, she says. I'll be right back. She steps into the hallway and takes the call. 20 minutes pass. 20 minutes pass. By the time the call ends, that conversation with Grace is buried under numbers and deadlines. She walks back toward the music room but stops. She hears two pianos. Someone is playing with Grace. Olivia's heart starts pounding. She moves quietly to the door and peers through the narrow glass. A man in a janitor's uniform sits at the second piano, his back to her. His hands move with the precision of a professional musician. He's teaching Grace a duet. Feel the rhythm, he says gently. Don't rush. Let the music breathe. Grace laughs, a sound Olivia hasn't heard in years. Not like this. Not pure, unfiltered joy. They play A River Flows in You. Together this time. The melody is haunting and beautiful. Olivia stands frozen, tears streaming down her face. This stranger, this janitor, gave her daughter something she couldn't. Happiness. The music ends. Grace claps. That was perfect, Uncle Mason. You were perfect. Mason chuckles softly. I just followed your lead. Olivia takes a deep breath and pushes the door open. Both of them turn. Mason goes pale, the CEO, standing right in front of him. I'm sorry, he stammers. I know I'm not supposed to be here. But Grace called me. She asked me to come. I couldn't say no. Olivia doesn't answer immediately. She studies him. Worn uniform, calloused hands, kind eyes. Who are you? She asks, her voice cold. Masonry, ma'am, he says. I used to work here. Night shift janitor. I was fired 3 days ago. For what reason? She asks. Mason hesitates. For being in this room, he says finally, with your daughter. Behind her, Mark Ellison appears in the hallway. Security must have tipped him off. Is this true? Olivia asks him flatly. Yes, Miss Carter. Mark replies, sounding confident. Phoning confident. He violated protocol. He had no authorization to interact with. He with my daughter? Olivia cuts in. Mark stumbles. I was protecting company policy. You fired the man who was teaching my daughter piano, Olivia says, her voice turning to ice. The man who made her smile for the first time in years. And you didn't think to tell me I didn't know she was your daughter, Mark says. That makes it worse, Olivia snaps. You judged him by his uniform, not his character. Mark's face reddens. Olivia turns back to Mason. Why did you come back? She asks quietly. You knew you could be arrested for trespassing. Mason looks at Grace, then at Olivia. Because she needed me, he says simply. And I don't walk away from the people I care about. The room falls silent. Grace walks forward, finds her mother's hand, then reaches for Mason's. Mom, she says softly, Uncle Mason taught me how to see your face with music. He said every person has a sound. And yours sounds like strength and sadness and love. Olivia's tears flow freely now. She really looks at Mason for the first time. You did this, she asks. You taught her all of this? I just showed her what was already inside, Mason replies. She did the rest. Olivia wipes her eyes. Don't leave, she says. Not yet. Mason nods. She turns to Mark. Leave us, and be in my office first thing tomorrow. Mark's jaw tightens, but he leaves without a word. Olivia kneels in front of Grace and cups her face in her hands. I'm sorry, she whispers. I've been so focused on work that I forgot what matters most. You. It's okay, Mom. Grace says, hugging her. You're here now. Olivia stands and looks at Mason. Thank you, she says. foreseeing her when I didn't. Mason nods. She's a remarkable kid because of you. For the first time, the three of them share a quiet moment in that music room. A CEO, a janitor, and a blind girl who brought them together. The next morning, Olivia does something she's never done before. She calls an emergency meeting. Everyone has to come. Executives, assistants, security, janitors, maintenance, all of them. They crowd into the main atrium, murmuring and confused. Olivia steps onto a small platform. Her presence alone silences the entire room. I want to tell you a story, she begins. 3 nights ago, a man was fired from this company. His name is Mason Reid. He worked as a night shift janitor. People glance at each other. They remember. He was fired, Olivia continues, for spending time in the music room, for teaching a little blind girl how to play piano. She pauses. That little girl is my daughter. A shockwave ripples through the crowd. Mason didn't know who she was, Olivia says. He didn't do it for recognition. Or money, Anna. Buffy. Or a promotion. He did it because she was alone. And she needed someone to see her. Her voice grows stronger. This company has forgotten something important. We've started to believe that value is determined by title, that worth is measured by salary, that the only people who matter are the ones in the corner offices. She shakes her head. We are wrong. She turns toward the side entrance. Mason, would you join me, please? Mason steps onto the platform. He's not wearing his janitor uniform anymore. Olivia had a proper suit arranged for him. He still looks overwhelmed under all the eyes staring at him. Olivia faces the crowd. Mason Reid sacrificed his job to help my daughter, she says. He risked everything simply because it was the right thing to do. And for that, this company owes him more than an apology. She takes a breath. Effective immediately, Mason Reid is appointed music director for the Carter Hope Foundation. A murmur, then applause, then full-on cheering. He will lead our new program. Olivia continues, providing free music education to children with disabilities. The room erupts. Mason stares at her, stunned. I don't understand, he says. I'm just anything. Olivia interrupts firmly. You are exactly what this company needs, and exactly what my daughter needs. In the back of the room, Mark Ellison stands stiffly, his face flushed. Olivia's eyes find him. Mark Ellison, she says. A step forward. The crowd turns. Mark walks up, every step heavier than the last. You judged a man by his uniform, Olivia says. You dismissed him without truly investigating. You let your prejudice replace your judgment. And worst of all, you made my daughter feel like her friend was disposable. Mark opens his mouth to defend himself, but Olivia raises her hand. Or being reassigned to the facilities management team, she says. And maybe there, you'll learn what it feels like to be judged by your work, not your title. The crowd murmurs again. Some nod, some look away. Mark steps down, humiliation written all over him. Justice, quiet, simple, and public. Olivia turns back to Mason. Do you accept? She asks. Will you accept? Mason looks out at the sea of faces, then down at his hands, the same hands that scrubbed floors, that played for a little blind girl in the dark, that once stayed silent after his wife died. Yes, he says. The atrium explodes in applause. In applause, someone brings Grace onto the platform. She finds Mason by the sound of his breathing and the familiar warmth of his hand. She reaches into her pocket, pulls out her silver bracelet. This is for you, she says, because you taught me what it means. Here with your heart. Mason kneels so she can slip the bracelet onto his wrist. The crowd falls quiet. Many wipe their eyes. Olivia watches them, her daughter, and the man who saved her in a way she never could. For the first time in a long time, Olivia smiles, a real smile, not the corporate mask. Hope. 1 year later, the Carter Hope Foundation Music Hall is packed. Parents, kids, teachers, reporters. On stage, 30 children sit with instruments, violins, flutes, cellos. In the center, 2 grand pianos. Mason stands at the conductor's podium in a black suit. He looks different now, but his eyes are still the same. Beside one of the pianos sits Grace. She's 10 now. Her fingers rest confidently on the keys. She wears a new bracelet. This one reads, music is light. The house lights dim. The audience quiets. Mason raises his baton. The children begin to play. It's an original piece he wrote, inspired by Grace. It's called The Things We Cannot See. The melody is tender and powerful, full of grief, hope, and joy, all woven together. Grace plays the lead piano part. Her hands dance across the keys. She can't see a single note, but she feels every one of them. The audience is silent. Many are crying. In the front row, Olivia records on her phone, but more importantly, she watches with her own eyes. She doesn't see a blind child anymore. She sees an artist. The piece swells to a climax, then settles into a gentle, fragile ending. The last note hangs in the air. Silence. Then thunderous applause. The children stand and bow. Grace stands and bows too, facing the sound instead of the sight of the crowd. Mason steps off the podium, walks to her piano, and takes her hand. Together, they bow again. The applause only grows louder. Olivia stands up, clapping until her hands hurt, tears running freely down her face. After the performance, the lobby buzzes with conversation. A reporter approaches Mason. "Mr. Reed," she says, "what inspired you to create this program?" Mason glances at Grace, then at Olivia. "I was a man who thought he'd lost everything," he says. "I thought my music died with my wife. But then I met someone who reminded me that music isn't about what we see. It's about what we feel. A couple. What we share, what we give." The reporter nods. "And what would you say to people out there who feel lost?" Mason thinks for a moment. "Yeah, I tell them this," he says. Sometimes the most important moments in your life happen when no one is watching. No cameras, no applause, no promotion. Just a choice to do the right thing because someone needs you." He looks down at the bracelet on his wrist. "Here with your heart." He smiles. "The rest," he says quietly, "will follow." The camera pulls back. The music hall glows with warm light. Children laugh. Parents hug their kids. Music lingers in the air like a blessing. And at the center of it all stand three people. A CEO who finally learned to see, a janitor who finally learned to hope, and a blind girl who taught them both how to hear. Subscribe if you believe music can heal what the eyes cannot. Musical Broken Sparkles.